everybody who watches me. Well, Star Wars Return of the Jedi is officially 40 years old.
A long time.
What happened, huh?
And as I did with the original Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, I feel obligated to talk about this film that, along with the first two, played such a huge part in my movie-going experience as a little kid. Before I begin, I just want people to know that I'm not going to really talk about or make main references to the various Star Wars shows on Disney+, because I haven't seen them. After the shit show that was Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, I just decided I was Star Wars'd out and just needed a long sabbatical from this franchise's new content.
Rest period! Oh. Rest period's over!
Anyway, on to Return of the Jedi. Following the massive success of The Empire Strikes Back, production on the third Star Wars film quickly began. Once again forgoing directing duties, George Lucas searched high and low for the right director. His good buddy Steven Spielberg was considered, but due to feuds with the Directors Guild, he was apparently banned from directing the film.
I hate when that happens.
Other directors considered include the two surreal Davids of the 1980s, David Lynch and David fucking Cronenberg.
That's very interesting.
David Lynch, who said he had no interest in doing Star Wars, said he only met with George Lucas for the sake of meeting him.
You know, George is a guy that does what he loves, and I do what I love. The difference is what George loves makes hundreds of billions of dollars.
And David Cronenberg declined so he could focus on two big films he was going to make in 1983, Videodrome and The Dead Zone.
Death to Videodrome. Long live the new flesh.
Now don't give me any argument. The ice is gonna break!
I think it's safe to say he doesn't have any regrets. Directing duties eventually went to Richard Marquand, the sadly gone too soon director of The Legacy and Jagged Edge. And if you're into unintentionally creepy romance flicks, he also directed Until September from 1984 with Karen Allen. Going off of George Lucas's original story outline, the final script was penned by both Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan, returning from The Empire Strikes Back. As for producing duties, after Gary Kurtz left the franchise due to disagreements with George Lucas, the job of main producer went to Howard Kazanian. Kazanian had previously worked as an executive producer on Raiders of the Lost Ark, playing a big part in the casting of Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. In fact, his biggest contribution to Return of the Jedi was getting Harrison Ford to reprise the role of Han Solo after it was unclear if he'd return after Empire. He also came up with the fun idea of making the film under the fake title Blue Harvest and making people think it was a horror film to keep fans and press at bay.
You, sir, are a steely-eyed missile man.
Picking up a few years after the events of Empire, the heroes travel to Luke Skywalker, played by Mark Hamill's home planet of Tatooine, to rescue the carbonite-frozen Han Solo, played by Harrison Ford, from his former boss, Jabba the Hutt. And after 2 films of build-up, he is a gloriously hideous sight to behold. Pretty impressive when you take into account that it took 6 men from inside that prosthetic suit to operate everything.
I can't breathe in this thing!
Many failed attempts are made to rescue Han. C-3PO and R2-D2, played by Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker, try the diplomatic approach and end up becoming servants to the Hutt. Princess Leia, played again by Carrie Fisher, sneaks in disguised as a bounty hunter. She manages to unfreeze Han, but they are quickly caught.
I was just on my way to pay you back, and I got a little sidetracked.
Han is re-imprisoned, and Leia is forced to become one of Jabba's slave girls, putting Carrie Fisher in an outfit that raised a lot of eyebrows back then, and still does to this day. With Chewbacca, played by Peter Mayhew, imprisoned, and Lando Calrissian, played by Billy D. Williams, disguised as a guard, it seems like a rescue is futile. But then Luke arrives, much darker and badass than we've ever seen before.
I'm taking Captain Solo and his friends. You can either profit by this or be destroyed.
After facing down Jabba's pet beast, the Rancor, the group is taken out into the desert to be fed to a creature known as the Sarlacc. We then see that all of these failed rescue attempts may have been a part of a much larger plan. Donning the now iconic green lightsaber, Luke hacks his way through Jabba's goons, knocking many into the pit. Han, unintentionally, gives Boba Fett a pretty embarrassing way to go out.
What a useless guy.
Or so we thought. Leia takes out Jabba in the most awesome and gruesome hands-on death of the entire film.
That motherfucker's dead.
The team escapes, leaving the Hutt's barge in a fiery ruin.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
The hottest Jedis in the galaxy are waiting to talk to you. No, Jabba's not here right now. You want me to put my lightsaber where? Call now, you will.
Not all girls meet minimum midichlorian counts. Not available on Alderaan or Coruscant.
Before reconvening with the other rebels, Luke heads back to Dagobah, where he sees Yoda, puppeteered and voiced again by Frank Oz, is close to death.
Master Yoda, you can't die. Strong am I with the Force, but not that strong.
Before dying, Yoda tells Luke he must confront Vader, and only then will he be a full-on Jedi. Wanting the truth, and because so many fans thought he was lying at the end of Empire, Luke asks if Vader truly is his father.
Your father is.
Before this is over, I'm gonna need a whole lot of serious therapy. Look at my eye twitching.
Yoda tells Luke there is another Skywalker, and finally, he quietly passes away. Luke is then greeted by the ghost of Obi-Wan Kenobi, played for the final time by Alec Guinness. He expresses his doubts about being able to face his father. When he asks about the other Skywalker, Obi-Wan reveals that Luke has a sister, a twin sister, who after their birth was hidden separately for the sake of keeping them safe. Before he can say uncomfortable, Luke realizes
Leia's my sister.
Your insight serves you well.
She's your sister, dude. And you made out with her, man. Well, I didn't know she was my sister, so it's not my fault. And she's one of the hottest girls on the planet. You just said your sister's hot. What a freak. You're going to hell, man.
Cut to the rebels, it's revealed the Empire is building a new Death Star. Word has gotten out that the Emperor himself will be visiting the new station. Hoping to take advantage of the yet-finished Death Star, the rebels, led by Lando and overseen by Admiral Akbar, plan an attack to enter and blow up the station, just like the original. Needing the shield to be down for the attack, Han, Leia, Luke, and a squad of rebels head to the moon of Endor, which the station orbits. Darth Vader, played physically by David Prowse and later on stuntman Bob Anderson, and voiced again by the amazing James Earl Jones, senses Luke's presence as he arrives on Endor.
Let's ride.
After a kick-ass speeder chase with the stormtroopers, Luke, Han, and Leia meet the locals of the moon, the very polarizing Star Wars species known as the Ewoks. The main bear is named Wicket, played in his film debut by Warwick Davis. At first things are tense, but after doing a few force tricks and letting C-3PO tell the trilogy story, the primitive little furballs do all they can to help the group. Luke reveals the truth of their relation to Leia, who's probably thanking God she chose Han.
Somehow, I've always known. I've always known.
Yeah? She's a slut. Bang!
Luke leaves and surrenders himself to Vader, hoping to convince his father to return to the good he once had.
It is too late for me, son.
Although he says it's too late, you can sense his desire to be fully joined with his son.
All fathers care for their sons.
Vader takes Luke to the Emperor, played here in his first fully visible, built-up appearance by Ian McDiarmid, and he does not disappoint.
In time you will call me Master.
The Emperor reveals it was he who leaked the Death Star's location, and that the rebels are heading into a trap. And so begins one of the best put-together sci-fi blockbuster finales of all time. Seriously, this sequence is a masterclass in quick editing, all put together thanks to Sean Barton, Marshall Lucas, and Dwayne Dunham. Lando and the fleet arrive, realizing too late it's a trap, leading to the most intense space battle of the original trilogy. Rebels and TIE fighters are getting shot left and right, the Death Star shows it's fully operational, Han and Leia attempt to enter the base on Endor, the Stormtroopers putting up a brutal battle, but the Ewoks show they can be just as savage. On the Death Star, the Emperor tempts Luke to give in to the dark side.
The heat is swelling in you now. Give in to your anger.
Resisting but pushed to the limit, Luke finally faces Vader. As they try to sway him, Luke pleads with his father to let go of his hate. Backed into a corner, Luke listens as Vader realizes Leia is his other child. Saying she could become his apprentice if Luke won't is enough to push the young man to fight with all his strength. He eventually takes his father's hand, just as he did to him. The Emperor pushes Luke to kill Vader and take his place at his side. Seeing that they both have a robotic limb, Luke proudly proclaims he will never join the dark side.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
The Emp does not take rejection well. Broken from the fight, Vader watches as Luke screams in agony. In an amazing combination of acting and filmmaking, despite the fact that we can't see Darth Vader's facial expressions due to his mask, we know exactly what is going through his head as he contemplates his loyalty to the Emperor and his longing to protect his son. In the end, he chooses Luke, leading to the moment you know made audiences lose their shit in the cinema in 1983. Vader picks up the Emperor, manages to carry him over, and throw him right down the fucking shaft.
That was awesome!
Darth Vader, wounded and dying, looks down as the Emperor is destroyed, essentially bringing an end to the dark side. Or so we fucking thought.
The new Empire.
Who are you? I'm Rey. Rey who? Rey Skywalker.
No, go past this. In fact, never play this again.
But just like how some fans choose to not acknowledge the existence of the prequels, I'm going to just ignore that fucking film.
I love this plan!
Dying, he has Luke remove his mask just so he can see him with his own eyes. We then see the true face of Anakin Skywalker, played by Sebastian Shaw, as he dies, letting Luke know that he saved him.
Tell your sister you've arrived.
And despite all he's done, this death scene still manages to make me feel all sorts of intense emotions when I watch it. Han and Leia manage to take the base while further developing their romance. The shield goes down, allowing Lando to enter the Death Star. With the help of Wedge Antilles, played again by Dennis Lawson, Lando flies the Millennium Falcon to the core. They knock out the reactor, and with the fire literally crawling up their ass, with the war over, Luke lays his father to rest. Touching, but all I can think about is, damn, that must stink.
What's that smell?
My flesh. It's burning.
The rebels and the Ewoks celebrate. Luke is reunited with his family. He sees the proud ghosts of Yoda and Obi-Wan, who gladly welcome the team sits amongst the Ewoks, giving us the perfect ending to the original saga. At least until Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, and Rian Johnson decided they couldn't leave well enough alone and just had to fuck everything up.
You, your pride and your ego. If you'd done your job, known your place, we'd all be fine right now.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
In a galaxy far, far away, you are needed as a rebel pilot. Become one in the Return of the Jedi Death Star Battle Home video game.
Your mission, fly Millennium Falcon through enemy force field while battling TIE interceptors. Ultimately penetrate and destroy the Death Star before its completion. But beware, the Death Ray can stop you.
Time is running out. Save the rebels. Play Return of the Jedi Death Star Battle from Parker Brothers. If you can stand the pressure.
So that was Return of the Jedi, and for me personally, this is my favorite of the original trilogy. Yes, it's not as iconic as The Empire Strikes Back, but for me, it is just the ultimate finale to wrap everything up and just knew it'd go out with a bang.
I agree.
Star Wars was a major part of my childhood. It presented a level of epicness that film had never seen before. It gave us the ultimate tale of good versus evil and good prevailing, although I do enjoy a good tragic story. This was just a good, still dark, but still very upbeat saga, and it was the series that started my initial interest in filmmaking because I grew up with the special edition VHS copy of Return of the Jedi, and along with Empire, there was a little intro on this particular tape that showed how they changed some things for the 1997 special edition. I eventually got the original version, and the 1983 version and the 1997 special edition have their own series of pros and cons. The main differences being the song number at Jabba's palace. In the original, it's just kind of a night lounge type song. Not too memorable, but it plays well. In the 97 version, they did a full-on music number. And while I know some people really fucking hate this sequence, I kind of enjoy it. I thought it was catchy and it had a good beat to it, the Jedi Rocks number. Yeah, the CGI is a little iffy, but I thought it was fun. And as for the Sarlacc pit, we get two pretty iconic versions. The original Vagina with Spikes version, and the Audrey 2 Octopus Tentacle version.
Few spikes sticking out of it. There wasn't anything alive about the whole thing. So what we've managed to do is create a kind of a beak that comes out, more tentacles.
Well, the special edition version that I grew up with has a pretty classic monster appeal to it. The original version gives a little bit more of an unsettling vibe with its simplistic and somewhat sexual design, and the biggest change that I know hits differently with so many people is the final celebration scene. In the 1983 version, they're all celebrating with the Ewoks and getting down, R2 doing a cute little dance, and they're listening to some Ewok song called Yup Nub. which is just begging to be the butt of so many jokes. But it's honestly sweet and a little catchy and just puts you in a nice mood. However, for the special edition, I totally got why George Lucas wanted to make it bigger, showing the reaction to the Emperor's defeat on various planets, from Cloud City to the not yet featured in a major film yet, Coruscant. And the new music score by John Williams just feels a lot more beautiful and dramatic. However, it is specifically the 1997 version of the ending that I think is the most superior, just because when Anakin's Force Ghost appears, it is still Sebastian Shaw, whereas the DVD version, released in 2004, has him replaced by Hayden Christensen. And yeah, I get it, you want to tie in with the prequels, but he's not that young anymore in this film, and the way Christensen acts when he appears just feels awkward. Christensen himself admits he had no idea what this shot was for when George Lucas filmed him. Also, I just have to say, I will never watch this film if it's the version where Darth Vader yells, "No!" when he kills the Emperor. It's just so over the top and just ruins this perfectly done silent moment from the character.
You just don't know when to quit, do you?
Putting aside the stuff with the special edition, is there anything in the film as a whole that I take issue with? Yes, there is. Luke and Leia's sibling relationship reveal. I don't know, I just feel like it doesn't really add anything to the film, and anything that's meant to be majorly impacted by it could have been reworked or just cut out, and based on all the will they, won't they moments in the previous films, and this deleted scene from The Empire Strikes Back, I think it's clear George Lucas did not think this twist through until later on. At least, I hope so. But then again, this is the same motherfucker who thought the best time to establish Padme and Anakin Skywalker's romance was when they were fucking 17 and 10 goddamn years old.
Pedophilia. Pedophilia and incest.
And for anyone wondering what my all-time favorite moments are, the takedown of Jabba the Hutt is a wonderful sequence. Leia choking the fucking shit out of the Hutt. Lando destroying the Death Star, which I'll get to in a sec. And my number one favorite, most underrated moment I feel from Return of the Jedi is when they're having the final battle and Green Leader, and I looked up what his name is, Arvel Krynid, flies his little ship right into the main Star Destroyer, essentially kamikazeing himself to take it down. I just feel so uplifted when I see it. It's just a powerful sacrifice, and I just gotta say, this guy, he is the unsung fucking hero of the rebellion. Just like The Empire Strikes Back, my favorite aspect of this film is the camaraderie between the main characters. Luke and Leia, while I think their sibling twist was not the best part of the film, they do work well together, and Luke and Han, they have a great bromance where you can tell they have each other's back to the death, and Han and Leia, seeing them finally come together as a true couple is just so heartwarming. Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor is one of the greatest villains you will ever see. Darth Vader, his redemption story is unbelievably powerful, showing no matter how bad it is possible to right your wrongs. Although, after seeing the prequel trilogy, I do agree, it is a little debatable just how much he did to redeem himself. I mean, it's kind of like if Joseph Mengele suddenly had an attack of conscience and killed Adolf Hitler. I mean, yeah, Hitler's dead, but he's still the angel of death.
What do you make of all this?
Man, I don't even have an opinion.
Regardless, his turnaround and proclamation to Luke of saving him is beautiful. And I feel a good note to go out on is to defend two of the biggest criticisms I've seen of Return of the Jedi, because for some reason, this movie became real popular to dunk on in the most recent years. Kind of like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and while Return of the Jedi is not as dark as Empire, has a little more of a silly side, it still can get unbelievably cruel at times, which kind of puts it on the same level as Temple of Doom. One of the biggest criticisms people have is the Ewoks. People think that they're just there to sell toys, and yeah, well, that is undeniably what they're there for. They do serve a purpose, they do help out, and they show they can be pretty awesome. They're definitely more meaningful than the fucking porgs. And as to everybody who makes the retarded comments that a bunch of little bears defeated the Empire, newsflash, they did not defeat the Empire. They helped. And if you paid attention, you would have noticed they were starting to get their asses kicked before Chewie took hold of that Imperial walker. You know it's fucked up when I was able to watch Schindler's List without shedding a tear, but it's this fucking scene that, no matter how many times I see it, always gets my eyes welled up. The other big criticism is that the finale is just like the final battle of the first film, with them going into the Death Star to blow it up, and yes, I agree, it is really similar to the first film, but my defense is Jedi did it better. It's bigger, looks a lot nicer, and I dare you to come at me after seeing Lando escape the Death Star with the fire literally a cunt hair away from taking the Millennium Falcon, and say that this was the weakest of the trilogy. Grossing over $475 million on a budget that fluctuated between $30 and $40 million, I'd say Return of the Jedi did pretty damn fine, with a mix of Lucas's story ideas, Richard Marquand's directing, Lawrence Kasdan's very helpful co-writing, Ben Bird's awesome sound effects, and John Williams' amazing score. Return of the Jedi is one of the few truly great third and final entries to a undeniably groundbreaking film trilogy. I've seen these films so many times, I can't count, and I will continue watching them again, and it's hard to think they've finally reached the age of 40, and here's to reaching 50. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this rambling little video. I just felt like I had to do it, and I will see you again very soon. Until then, enjoy the classics.
And may the Force be with you.
Okay, take out the power station.
Some like it hot and some sweat when the heat is on.